Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Juggernaut, and in this video I will explain to you what Escape from Tarkov is, give you a sort of intro to the game, and tell you all that you want to know about the very basics of the game and the basic concepts and the basic gameplay elements of it. Bear in mind, I am by no means a veteran Tarkov player, and I will not go into any in-depth strategies or advice as to how to be better at the game or how to, have a better KD ratio or better survival percentage in the game. However, I in this video I will provide like a basic feature list and sort of basic information about the game. So, with that intro done, let me start by saying that Escape from Tarkov is in a little bit of a weird position right now because the game is fairly popular and there are a lot of people playing it. However, it is in closed beta, and the closed beta key is available only to those who pre-order the game. I believe it is $35, or sorry, €35 right now, and that translates into something like 40 something dollars. But I very often come across comments that are like, what is Escape from Tarkov? What's it all about? What's this like? Because you don't really get to see everything from like a couple of minutes of watching the game. It goes a little bit more in depth, and there's a sort of grander picture to it. And very often I come across these comments when watching either Tarkov YouTube videos or Tarkov streams or something like that. So I figured someone might Google what is Escape from Tarkov and might stumble across this video, and I wanted to provide a service and to basically tell you. So with a obnoxiously long 2-minute intro out of the way, Escape from Tarkov is a PvP/PvE, both at the same time, FPS shooter, where the primary mechanic is as follows. Essentially, you have what is called a stash. This is all the items you have started the game with, because you start off with some pistols and some basic bandages and medkits and stuff like that, ammunition, and all the things that you will later collect in the game, but we'll talk about that in a second. So, you have this stash, and everything in it is yours. No one can take it from you, right? You can sell it to some of the traders, which there are 2, 4, 6, 7 of them, all specializing in different sort of things, most of them trading in Russian rubles, but one of them trading in euros, one of them trading in dollars. But the basic idea of the game is this is your stash, everything you have here is yours, no one can take it from you. This is your character, what is called a PMC, right? Everything you put on your character and go into Tarkov, go into to what is called a raid, go into a map and fight other people and AI, you can lose. How do you lose it? Well, you die, You die, and everything you have taken, you have lost forever, unless you kill the guy that took it in a couple of raids from now or a couple of weeks from now, and you find out that, oh, hey, that's exactly the gun I lost. Is it your gun? You never know, but hey, that's an option. However, everything that you lose for all intents and purposes permanently. However, anything you find on the map, be it on the map that, spawns and, like, loot, guns, supplies, money, whatever, if you extract and leave the map alive, it's yours. You get to put it in your stash. Or trade it away for money again. So it's constantly a balance between how much you want to risk and how greedy you are. And this sort of extends on the map as well. And I'll show you a couple of games. I don't do too well, but, like I said, I'll show you a couple of games and we'll get into it a little bit more. So, you put stuff that you want. For example, I have an M4A1. That's a very good weapon. I have 2 magazines for it, a sight. It's a very expensive weapon. If I were to die with this, it would hurt. So, right now, I'm not feeling like using one of these. So I'll put it back in my stash. Instead, maybe I want to use something like this AK-105 or this AKMS or whatever. They can actually, all 3 guns are kind of similar in quality, more or less. Well, the AK-105 probably is the worst out of them. Well, not even that is all that true, right? At any rate, probably go into battle with this. But that is not all that important. What is important is what sort of loot you can get. Well, it ranges from medical supplies to food to water, and you do need both. Because, well, do you want to take both on a raid is a different question, but you do need food and water in order to replenish these two stats. If you can die of dehydration if you take too long on the map and don't drink any water or don't find any water, or really any drinkable liquid, because pineapple juice, water, milk, or whatever will decrease your, or will increase your will decrease your thirst. It will increase your water point stat thing. Now, Tarkov is a relatively realistic game. Okay, it has some pretty decently realistic elements. For example, when it comes to restoring your health. As in, it's very difficult to do. If one of your limbs, and damage is basically localized to limbs, kind of like in New Vegas, or kind of like in Fallout, especially like New Vegas or Fallout 3, a little bit less than Fallout 4. It's sort of like that system. Some of your limbs can get crippled. So let's say your leg gets crippled, and it loses all of its HP, you will lose a portion of your total HP. However, that leg will now be busted and you will not be able to run. If your right arm gets shot, you will not be able to aim properly, and so on and so forth. If your head gets shot, you will die, and so it is, from that sort of perspective, it is pretty realistic, although the enemies tend to be, or the players also tend to be decently bullet spongy, depending on what sort of armor they're wearing. Obviously, if they don't have any armor or they have very basic armor, you can take them down in a couple of shots. But with some of the better armors, they can be damn tough to kill. Now, there is also something called a pouch, and I notice a lot of players running around Tarkov not really knowing how to utilize this. A pouch is sort of like a black box, if you will, as in it doesn't exist for anyone else on the map apart from you. The pouch is permanent, always and forever. Meaning, if you die, the pouch stays, basically, right? You have access to everything in the pouch, or in the so-called alpha container, or there are other types of containers as well, which are just, they basically have more inventory slots. Whatever you put in here, you can never lose. This is like an extension of your stash, except that you have access to it in-game as well. Okay, everything else is off the books. Sorry, everything else is on the books to be looted. Unless it doesn't get looted. See, if someone loots some of your stuff, you lose it permanently, but what if they don't? What if they find this Untar MFUN armor and decide, you know what, it's pretty bad, I don't want it, and leave it on your body? Well, you can insure it. You basically pay for insurance a certain amount of money, and if nobody loots your item, it stays on the map, the game ends. By the way, there's a timer to each and every one of the raids, like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that's sort of the usual timers on most maps. 60 minutes on some of the big ones. If nobody loots it, it does return to you. However, the chances of nobody looting it are relatively slim, unless you go and discard it somewhere that is difficult to reach and out of sight, which can be a viable tactic as well. You discard this, pick something else up that's better, and, if in case you don't have inventory space to carry it, that's a bit more of an advanced tactic, though. There is also, however, two other game modes other than just playing as your character and risking stuff from your stash. Because let's say you lose pretty much all the weapons in your stash, how are you going to continue after that? Well, you continue with just a bayonet or just a hatchet. However, even if you do get to that stage and don't want to use the hatchet, like I said, there is another alternative. That is playing as a scav. Scavs are AI characters, for the most part. I'll get to that in a second. Scavs are AI characters on the map. They come with their own gear, and you get random starting gear. You have no idea where it is. You have no idea what it is. Also, you have no idea where on the map of your choosing you will spawn. There is no way to predict that, and there is no way to predict when in one match you will spawn. So PMCs spawn at the beginning of the match, right? And depending on the map, they have either like I said, either like a 45-minute or a 60-minute timer to leave the map. Kill people, or don't. Sneak around, loot stuff, extract. If you don't extract in the said time limit, you will instantly die. Well, you won't die, you'll go missing in action, but it's pretty much the same thing, right? However, a scav does not necessarily enter the game. When you play as a scav, you don't necessarily enter the game at the beginning of the game itself. Sometimes you will enter on the 45th mark, sometimes you will enter on the 30th mark. Minute mark, that is. Right? However, you do not risk anything from your personal stash. Okay? There is absolutely no risk when it comes to playing a scav. So why don't you always play as a scav? Well, like I said, no idea where you're going to spawn, no idea when you're going to spawn, and random starting gear. Scav gear, on average, is not very good. For example, I did start the previous run I did with this AK-105 and 2 magazines for it. That's a good weapon. Right? I did modify it a little bit, but that's a good weapon to start with. A lot of the time, though, you will start with a basic shotgun, or very often just a pistol. Whereas if you if you take items from your stash, you can take something like this fully modified AK-74M, which is pretty damn beastly, right? Or you can take a big backpack, such as this Pilgrim, which is the best backpack in the game. Alternatively, if you don't want to risk something like that, you can take some of the better armor. Scavs usually start with fairly basic armor or no armor whatsoever. You can put on some good armor from your stash that scavs don't have access to. Another thing they might not necessarily have access to is meds. More often than not, actually, you will find that your scav does not have any medkit or painkillers, or bandages or whatever to heal himself with. Also, playing as a scav does not give you access to the alpha container. Primarily right now, I use the alpha container for keys, because keys are relatively rare, relatively expensive, and a little bit difficult to get. Some of them more than most, but also some of them more than others, but that is sort of what I use this for right now, because I don't really care about my guns or my rig, because I have backup for those, right? What the hell did I just click? Nothing. Okay. As far as inventory space is concerned, this will become a pretty damn big thing to manage, because depending on how much you pay for the game, or how much you pay to pre-order the game, what edition you get, you will get a certain stash. This can be a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, but there are no ways to increase the stash size yet. This will be added later into the game when open beta is announced, or a different patch. However, there are certain items that let you save in inventory space. I'll give you an example. The Pilgrim, you can put stuff in it. Obviously, it's a backpack, right? But you can put other backpacks in it too. For example, the Scav backpack. And you can put a backpack inside of a backpack, inside of a backpack, inside of a backpack, inside of a backpack. That's one way of saving space, right? You can't do that with tactical gear or tactical rigs, though, or guns or anything else, but you can do that with this. There are also item cases in the game. I haven't found one yet, but essentially they are like a 3x3 case, which when you open, it's not a 3x3 container, it's like a 6x6 container, maybe. So this is like one way of increasing the size of your stash. There's also a third, not very popular, but useful game mode. And I will show you right now. That is offline mode. Now, offline mode with or without PvE. This is basically with AI scavs on the map or without. In offline mode, nothing is saved. Okay? So offline mode is purely there for testing. You do not lose any of the gear you start with, you do not lose any of the ammo, any of the meds that you use during offline mode, you do not lose in the actual character or the actual stash. Anything you pick up on the map, you don't get to keep with you after the game ends. The offline mode is purely just for testing. However, it can be decently fun too. It can be very useful as well to learn the maps and stuff like that, but it's more of like an auxiliary testing thing than a mode. Then again, here we go. Also, it is in this beta version, or it is in the beta version of the game. I believe this will probably be removed when the game is released, but, you know, maybe people will want an offline mode and maybe it'll stay. I don't know, this is all just speculation, but for now, it does exist. Now, let's go into Tarkov with a scav run, because I don't want to risk anything on my stash right now, especially not when I'm explaining stuff and not really focusing or not really listening to my surroundings. So, let's go to one of the maps, and this is where you choose a map. So, some of these are not available and will be added later into the game, but the ones you can choose right now, Interchange Customs Factory Woods Shoreline. And let's go with, let's say, Customs. Sure, why not? It's a 25-minute, insane difficulty, and 6 to 12 players. Don't trust the game, by the way. Hard, insane, and I find Customs easier than Shoreline or Woods, personally, but, you know, maybe I don't know nothing and just shouldn't talk about this. Interchange I find the most difficult, oddly enough, but hey. Okay, let's go in. So here you can see other people that are queuing for the game as well, and you can send them friend invites, invite them to groups or whatever, or you can be a loner and not do that, like yours truly. I'm kidding, I do play with people occasionally. Alright, so we're loading in as a scav. And here we go. And right off the start, there is quite a lot of shooting up the hill over there, so let's get involved in that shooting and possibly die within the first 30 seconds, but not before. That's probably another scav player, by the way he's moving. Yeah. Yeah, that is another scav player. So, an AI scav player. How do you know... That looked like a person for a second. How do you know whether a player in your game is an AI or a scav player? Because you're not the only scav, you know, human player on the map. And the answer is you don't really. Other scav players will have the tendency to shoot you if they figure out you're human and not just AI, or if you have good gear and they tend to like it. However, it's actually a pretty damn decent start. Actually, we can't put that on our quick bar. Okay, so there are several places you can extract to on the map. Double tapping the O key will show you where. You can exit at the military checkpoint, at the factory far corner, or at the admin gate. Where are these things? Well, you can buy a map for, I think, around 10 to 15,000 rubles, and look at the map and figure out where all these things are. Alternatively, you can look up a map offline on something like Google Chrome or whatever, and just have it open in an internet browser while you're playing. That's an equally viable option. No one will judge you for it. However, bear in mind that while you're trying to... Okay, I thought that was a... Not a player, is it? No. It's just a tree. Okay. Bearing in mind, however, that you will have to Alt-Tab while looking at the map, and while you're trying to figure out where you are, someone could approach you and, you know, take your life away. But it is generally a good idea to know where you're going in life in general, especially in this game, though. So, honestly, between me and you, and this comes as a sort of more of a subjective note to the game, and to the sort of entire feeling that you get while running around looting and killing other people, the feeling of rush, adrenaline, pressure, intensity, and overall, I don't know, I don't want to say immersiveness, but overall just feeling of, all these little emotions, to quote Joker from The Dark Knight, all these little emotions that you get while playing this game is, quite honestly, unlike anything I've ever felt over the last 10 years of gaming, probably. I want to go back further than that, because I was a lot younger, and it was a different time, right? Also nostalgia and all that. But in the last 10 years, this is probably the most intense I've felt when playing a game. And it is because of this high-risk, high-reward type system, where at any point I can choose whatever I want to bring out of my stash and go and risk it. But also, it goes beyond that. Where you go on the map is also fairly important, because at the very least right now, certain areas are a hell of a lot more popular than others. This is something that will change, and loot will be more randomized. I need to go quiet here for a second. Loot will be more randomized in the future. Is it just me, or was this door not open when I got here? That is indeed very possible. Look, it's why I loaded up with a Scav run. I don't really care if I die or not. At least not with this. Though it is a very nice gun and I would like to extract it. But at any rate. Yup, I saw him. That is an SKS by the sound of it. And I am bleeding. So I will need to use this. And he came from behind me, right? Was it the same dude? I don't think so. Couldn't make it down that quickly, right? Probably not. At any rate, there you go. Basically, that's it. So, we'll load up another run, probably to keep running in the background, but sorry. Essentially, that's it. You go around, you collect stuff, and you leave the map. Now, you can only leave the map on certain extraction points, which, like I said, are shown in the top corner. Where they are, you'll need to figure out for yourselves. Now, however, there is a set number of them. It's not just random and wherever. There is like, let's say, 10 or 15 extraction spots, and a couple of them are active in each game. Scavs and PMCs have different extraction points. Though this depends on the map. Sometimes they completely overlap, sometimes they partially overlap, sometimes Scav ones are unique ones, sometimes PMC ones have unique ones, and so on and so forth. It all sort of depends on the map. However, when we talk about the traders a little bit, and we talk about sort of what they specialize in, this also dictates the price of various items you can buy or sell. So the therapist specializes in selling you medical equipment, and also specializes in... I don't know how much this will make sense, but she also specializes in buying equipment from you, as in she will give you the best price for certain equipment, such as bandages and medical equipment and stuff like that. So, there is also one more thing to the game, and that is tasks. So, I've completed the first task for Prapor, and I can't say it without a proper accent, right? Prapor? Is that how you would do it? It sounds awfully wrong to me. Prapor. At any rate, I completed the first task for him, which is to kill 3 scavs in customs, I believe? Yes. And to bring him 3 MP133 shotguns and hand them over. As reward, I didn't get anything. I got the XP and I got the rating with Prapor up a little bit, but none of this was given to me because the game glitched out and swallowed all of this from my inventory. Look, it's a closed beta. Remember that when you're sort of going in. There will be bugs, there will be desync issues, there will be broken equipment that you paid for and looted and all that stuff. And generally, it's sort of the feeling of most guys first coming into first coming into Tarkov, sorry, is that it's all about the loot. And to a certain extent, yes, because loot is like the driving feature here, right? You play in order to loot, be it other players or places, right? However, it really is more about the combat and the sort of tactical nature of it, of listening for footsteps and trying to go around your opponents, flanking them, and you know, all these little things like that, rather than just about the raw loot of it. So you'll find often that the more people play the game, the less they care about their loot, and they don't care if they lose it all because they know they can just, you know, earn it back through time. And they play more for the sort of FPS elements and more so for the combat. But be that as it may, this is one of those things that you can. It's basically like quests, right? You can do for them. So right now, my quest is to find a bronze pocket watch. It's on the customs map, and you need a key for that, which I have, and I'll show you. It's this key right here. You find it. You find the pocket watch in one of the trucks in the construction site of customs, the map customs, and you can bring it to the trader, and as a result, you will progress, basically. This is sort of, along with your loot in your stash, this is sort of one of the main ways to progress, is by doing these tasks. It'll give you standing, or whatever it's called. It'll give you, like, yeah, I think it's called standing, or status, or whatever, with traders, and each and every one of them has different tasks for you that you unlock at certain points. And along with progression of your actual player level, which is displayed here, you can also progress with them, and they will give you, or they will give you like money and equipment and stuff like that. But they will also unlock other stuff for you to buy from them. I talked about player progression. Here it is. So this, the main way you progress through this is by playing as a PMC. So playing as a PMC should, and really is, your main way to play. Scav is there sort of for you to do something in the meantime when you don't want to risk anything, or you don't want to risk too much from your stash, and you know, so on and so forth. But mainly, the main way you play is through this. So your player level, as it increases, your dog tag, which is quite literally the dog tag you have around your neck, will become more expensive to players, and you'll start meeting more high-level players, and also you will level up in these skills here. With, you know, skills with various different weapons, and yeah, that's basically it. That's the progression side of the game. You can also view all your tasks over here. And that's about it, I believe. I don't think there's much more for me to tell you about the game itself. That's essentially the very basics of Tarkov. There is also, I should mention, a timer on the scavs. So you can't just keep going in as a scav and like basically spamming this over and over again, because it will lead to really, really reckless play, and it just takes some fun out of the game. And like I said, the PMC is the main way to play this game, and the main focus for the game. However, there is also, you can't really just recklessly run through the map. For obvious reasons, you don't have anything to gain from it. Also, if you leave a raid too early, as in you don't make enough experience or not enough time passes, since you started the raid, you will get a penalty called the ran through penalty. Basically, you didn't do much, you just ran through the raid, and you don't get the full experience bonus that you would. Also, you don't get the full experience that you would usually get if you stayed and played more tactically, and gathered more loot, and fought with more people, or killed more scavs, or whatever. And there you go. That's basically Escape from Tarkov for you. This has primarily been a sort of intro into the game. Not very much gameplay, just me sort of talking on and on about what the game is like and then what you should expect from it. But honestly, like, one of the most intense, and by that virtue, one of the most fun FPS games I've played in probably the last 10 years, and yeah, absolutely love it, worth every cent in my modest opinion. So if you're interested in the game, I'll put a link to it down in the comment section or down in the description below or whatever. and or both probably, and you can pre-order the game for yourself, or you can read more about it on the forums and the website for the game. But that's about it. I will be doing Tarkov videos very likely because I've been playing the game pretty much all day. I bought it a couple of days ago, and yeah, it's been phenomenal. So yeah. I will be doing videos in the future, and it won't be me talking so much. It will just be raids and me doing gameplay of it. So if you want to look at that, feel free to stick around, and I'll try to upload those on a semi-regular basis. But for now, this was just sort of like a basic overview of Tarkov to let you know. Well, for one, to let my viewers and my subscribers that are already here on the channel know what the game's about, and then sort of how you go about in what you do in raids and stuff like that. And also, like I said, to answer to the dozen or so questions I see pretty much every day that of people going, yeah, what is Tarkov? What's it like? And sure enough, it's okay to explain in like a couple of sentences right then and there and be like, oh, it's an FPS, it's loot-driven and stuff like that. But this is a bit more of an in-depth explanation, because here's the thing. The concept for the game itself is actually very unique. I don't think I've seen anything like this, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've seen a game like this in ages, right? That's loot-driven, that has a sort of permadeath system, that's an FPS in this genre. It's a very unique system, or a very unique sort of, I wouldn't call it a gimmick, right? It's not a gimmick, it's the basis of the game, so it's a very, very unique system that they've developed, and I quite like it, so yeah, I'm hoping we could see more games like this in different genres, perhaps, in the future. But that's stretching it a little bit. For now, this is truly amazing, and yeah, I love it. So, at any rate, up until next time, my name is Juggernaut. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this answers your question as to what exactly the game is, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you. Till next time, have fun, take care, and bye bye.